What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. So I did a little social experiment. Well, not a social experiment. A training exercise. Played a trick on someone. I don't know how you how you describe this, but I encourage you guys to try this same thing that I did. Give it a shot and see what your results are, because yeah, you're gonna see that 99.999%. I'll even go to 100% of the time probably, that I'm right about what I'm going to tell you right now. So you guys understand, I don't want to say I'm always attacking the scientific community, but I'm always challenging the scientific community to the point where I kind of explain to them, well, your word is not God, which means that scientific studies sometimes don't apply to different things. Certain things they say this works this way and you find out it doesn't, right? Or there's another study that finds out that that previous study was wrong because there's another way to do it. So even science proves science wrong all the time, but generally, you know, in a general speaking, as long as it's a big science thing, we're supposed to believe that, you know, that's fact. Like the universe just goes by that law, that rule, and it cannot be bent, changed. It's no different. That's it. So I had a discussion with somebody today, and I'm listening to them talk about a lot of their scientific stuff, and they're super into science. I'm like, that's cool. And they're like, what do you think about, you know, the science way, this science way, that? Like, you're very bro, haha. Like, kind of make fun of me a little bit. I'm like, okay, yeah. And we're talking about different studies about new supplemental things. Like, not talking about drugs, we're talking about supplements in general, right? So we're talking about these new adaptogens that, well, I wouldn't even say new, but these adaptogens that we're talking about, whatever. And the whole conversation sounds like very scientific, right? And I'm not a bright guy. I'll be first one to be honest with you guys. I'm not a smart guy, but I do enjoy being around people and interacting with them. I do enjoy learning. And I also have ADD, which makes me do other things. While someone is talking, sometimes my brain thinks about other things, and I'm doing both things at one time, which is weird. So that started to happen while this individual was talking to me. So as he's talking to me, telling me, we were talking about my lat pull. It's not a tear, it's a muscle pull. And he was talking about proper exercise form and proper exercise cadence, or repetition cadence. And he starts talking about, well, science dictates this, and the human body works this way, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, right across the board, they're like, yeah, they did, a study of like 300 people, and all 300 this came out like this. There was no variance, and blah, 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 whatever. So we're talking about these things. I said, that's interesting. And in my head, all of a sudden, I'm starting to go through, what the fuck is this guy talking about? It's impossible that there isn't one single person in any of these studies that it went the opposite way with, right? So the only way to kind of explain to this person that they're wrong and make them see that they're wrong is not to be like, you're wrong, and try to find a study, because then they can kind of manipulate that data in the study to like, well, it only means this, and they didn't say that, so they can manipulate that to be right also. So you have to find a blatant example of what they're saying is wrong, because you're seeing with your own eyes right there. Like, it's not made up, it's not a story you're hearing, you're seeing with your own two eyes what you just said is not possible. Okay, so I said, oh, okay, cool. So I'm listening, talking about, flexibility and this and that and all these things. So I said, I'm going to show you something right now. I want you to explain to me how this individual is not tearing the muscles. Now, he has torn muscles, but it wasn't in the gym. He tore one falling off a horse, I think, or something like that. Or he slipped on, anyways. He fell down backwards out of a banister, and he tore his tricep, which I've heard of plenty of people tearing muscles falling down a fucking flight of stairs. So it wasn't a bodybuilding thing, which means that he's moving hundreds and hundreds of pounds every day on his body, and he doesn't get injured in the gym, right? And they're like, oh yeah, well, let me check it out. So I show him a video of Branch Warren training, which just about fucking made him pass out. And he's like, who the fuck is that? I said, that's Branch Warren. I said, this is how he, trains for bodybuilding competition, right? I said, you notice the cadence, the explosiveness, the lack of flexibility in his shoulder joints and stuff like that in general? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, well, can you explain to me? He's actually overloading the muscle to the point where, I don't think there's been studies overloading that much on the body. Like, I don't know if they've actually studied a bodybuilder or a powerlifter to see what happens when the body's overloaded that much with the weight. I said, but he's obviously going way above anything that, humans have been studied on. And he's looking at it, and he had no fucking answer. He goes, I don't fucking know. That guy should be tearing everything. And I showed him multiple exercises, multiple body parts. He's like, this motherfucker, he's like, all I can think of is like, the flexibility increased in his joints and the elastic tissue, and like he started. I'm like, okay, here comes the scientific, and he's trying to rationalize what he just saw, because instead of saying, holy shit, what I just said fucking 20 minutes ago was wrong, he's trying to find a way to justify saying what he just saw Branch Warren doing is different than what we were talking about before, but it's not, because his first impression was, I don't know how he's fucking doing this. So then he's trying to go through it in his head, So he comes up with this flexibility of the joints and stuff, including the connective tissue, that happened over time training explosively like that. And I said, okay, so what you're telling me basically is what science said before couldn't happen, right? Those muscles would actually snap and that would be the end of it. There is no genetic outliers. There's no one person that's all it is. If he trains like that, he should fucking snap everything. And he kind of shakes his head. He said, but you're telling me that this human being adapted, in a way, mutated, but adapted to his environment. And now he has done something that science has never seen before. And he just kind of was like, well, we don't know that. Yes, we do. Okay, it doesn't matter. Regardless, the guy's in there lifting weights. He's unflexible as shit. Like, you couldn't handcuff that motherfucker if he got in trouble to save his life. You'd have to use 2 pairs of cuffs. You can't get his arms fucking behind him. Lack of flexibility in the muscles. And you're trying to tell me that lack of flexibility in the gym with what he's doing is different than lack of flexibility we were talking about before. What the fuck? Lack of flexibility is lack of flexibility. Like, there's one fucking term, there's one definition. That's what it is. Now, it can be kind of interjected in different ways, right? Well, he's not flexible. He shows a lack of flexibility in his job schedule, or he shows a lack of flexibility in his, muscular system, whatever. Could be construed 2 different ways. But the point you guys are understanding the point I'm trying to get at. My ADD gets the best of me. Is that what he just saw, science can't explain. He can't explain. Try to rationalize it and kind of just blow it off. And in the end, like, we're cool, everything's fine. I mean, it wasn't like we were arguing and stuff, but in the end, this motherfucker who's science-based is going to go home, and that shit is going to fucking haunt him. He's going to try to figure out, like, even though I'll probably never talk about it again, he's going to fucking try to figure out for the next fucking 25 years what the fuck happened to what he just saw, because he doesn't want to believe in his heart of hearts that the studies were wrong. And he doesn't want to believe that due to human adaptation, many things in science are wrong for bodybuilding. I guess other things would be like that too, like your body adapts in other ways. But when we adapt our body towards bodybuilding, a lot of things change science-wise. And none of these fucking science guys are getting that, because they're stuck in once science is science, that's all there is to it. And I hope that someday, a scientist will actually say, wow, we know the body is incredibly adaptive. It adapts to everything, including our environment, stresses, it adapts. That's what it does. Until it dies, it adapts. Is it possible that there is no perfect way to train? There is no perfect diet. There is no perfect cardio. There's no such thing as a blueprint, because science always looks for a blueprint of how to train and shit so that this is the best way, it's the most efficient, it's scientific. They literally will have nothing. There will be no way to measure what is best, because there's nothing that's best. And that would be amazing to see a scientist say that, fuck, as much as we know, we really don't know anything, because everything is so different, the way it changes and mutates and adapts to the person's body. I mean, just once I'd like to fucking finally hear that, because they'll say, well, yeah, the body's adaptive. They'll say things to kind of skirt over the situation if you question them on it. When you get right down to it, ask them how the human body adapts and what are the limitations in the human adaptation, or the limits of human adaptation. They don't know the limits. We still don't know. So half the shit these bros are doing that's working, that fucking the science guys are fucking flipping their mouths off about, saying it's not possible, they're idiots. Guess what? They might just be right. BioStraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BioStraining.com is a blog. It's They Might Be Right, adapted by Sepp, and we are out.